Hi, Katie, Mr. Y here again, obviously. This was Espana Cani. Cani, I think is how you say it, I'm not sure. By Pascual Marquina Naro. I don't know that name at all. But this is a Spanish march. You can see it says moderate march tempo right at the very beginning. 108 beats a minute, so not quite as fast as the other one. But there are a couple of really important things you need to know here. First of all, at the very beginning of the song, you can see it's marked with no flats and no sharps in the key signature. That means all the Bs, are natural Bs, middle valve. But there are some Bs that are marked flat, and you got to watch out for that. For instance, at number 19 there, you'll see, and a whole bunch of other places, really. And then, actually, at measure number, where is it, 72 on the second page, the key signature changes to B flats for the rest of the song. I don't know if there are any naturals marked in there. I don't see any naturals marked in there. So it looks like all the Bs from then on are just flat. You don't have to worry too much about it, first valve. There are a couple of other notes here. A flats, you do have a couple of A flats. You may not have seen that one before. For instance, the second note in measure 20, that's an A flat right there, 2 and 3. If you play it just a little flatter than A, if you play regular A, just a little flatter than A. Also, another really important thing about this song, you'll notice there are an awful lot of staccatos. Now, I don't know if you've seen staccato before, so I'm going to walk you through it from the beginning. Please don't think I'm talking down to you if you know this already. I apologize, but I don't know what you know, really. The dots above the notes, dots on the side of the note, of course, make it a dotted half note or dotted quarter note, something like that. But the dots on top of the notes, or if the stem's pointing up, you can also have the staccato on the bottom, means staccato. The dot means staccato, and that basically means people think about it as playing a really short note, and that's kind of the easy way to think about it. What staccato actually means is separated from the next note. So when you play a whole bunch of staccato notes in a row, for instance, at the very beginning, you have this, you're going to have really short notes with a lot of space in between the notes, a lot of blank space with no sound. So for instance, at the very beginning, you can hear how those notes are really short and there's lots of space in between. Okay, that's what that's all about. By the way, time signature here is 2/4, so only 2 beats in a measure. Be careful when you're counting measures of rest. For instance, at number 11, if your brain is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to be late when you come in because it's only 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, etc. The opposite of staccato, kind of, in music, is what's called tenuto, T-U-N-T-O, T-E-N-U-T-O. Tenuto, or is it D-O? I'm not sure. I might have gotten that wrong. But the tenuto marking is the line underneath the note or above the note, depending on which way it faces. You can see, for instance, the A flat in measure number 20. There's a line underneath that note. And again, in the F sharp in measure 22, you can see. Tenuto is the opposite of staccato. It should be a nice long note, kind of connected to the next note. Tenuto is kind of like you're slurring to the next note, or I should say, it's as close as you can get to slurring without actually slurring. You do need to use your tongue on the next note, but the tenuto note should be right up to it. So if you were to play a whole bunch of tenuto notes in a row, like for instance at the very beginning, if it was tenuto instead of staccato, I would do. You hear the difference between that and staccato. As opposed to tenuto. I am using my tongue there on each note, but I'm making it as long as I possibly can before I use my tongue. By the way, I forgot to mention there's some high Ds in this one also. We talked about high D before, but there are some high Ds in this one. Do we have? Yes, we have high E flats too. For instance, in measure 26, the first note of measure 26, high E flat is one of those notes that's not the same down low as it is up high. Down low, E flat is 2 and 3. Up high, it's just 2. Okay, so if I were to play a high, well, let me start on C. If I were to play the high E above that with no valves, again with no valves, then if you just push down the second valve a little lower than that with your lips, that's the high E flat right there. So your middle valve, please show me on your trumpet, of course. So that's the high E flat. There are some kind of tricky high notes here, I guess. And then there's a rhythmically tricky thing. When we get to 65, I'll talk about that. But let me just play the beginning of this just to kind of get you going on this, okay? Right at the very beginning. Again, our tempo is 108 beats per minute, which is this. I think I'll play it at that speed for right now, but remember, when you're doing this, you should do it slower first, of course. 1, 2, 1. after all the rest at number 19, 2, ready. No. That's a tricky one there. There's an A flat there too. And then after all the rest, of course, coming in at the bottom of the page. This you have two tunerdo notes and then a staccato. So let me start that again at 54. This is the very end of the page 1. Okay, now this right here, 65, is a triplet kind of solo. You can see actually at measure 67, you have those groups of 3 eighth notes put together with a little 3 above the top. Those are what's called triplets. Triplets happen where you do 3 notes in the space of where 1 quarter note would be. So instead of eighth notes being like 2 notes in the space, you know, T, 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 a triplet is 3 counts, 3 notes in the space of that quarter note. So triplet, 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 triplet. So when you get to 67, I'm going to go in slow motion for it now, but it would be triplet, triplet, ba, 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 ba. This is very much a fanfare kind of thing on the trumpet. And you can also see there's some variations on the solo right before 65, at 65. Let me just play you 65 so you can hear what it sounds like without going through all the technical details about how it should be read. 65 should be. You can hear that's a quote from something that's used in some other song. I think that's a John Philip Sousa march, actually, is what it is. I don't remember exactly which one. It says also they're optional solo, which means the conductor may have just one of the trumpets do it. I guess that really means if you really wanted to try for the solo, make sure you get this part really good, obviously, and then when they audition for it, you'll really kick its butt and maybe you can get the solo. Or if you don't want to worry about it too much too, that's okay. That's probably the hardest part of the song right there. At 72, you have a couple of endings. Be careful. First ending and second ending with all those rests. Again, remember we're in 2 when you're counting the rest, so don't get fooled into 4. Then we come back at 80. I'm going to come back in at 81. Ready, and 1. By the way, remember, this is the B flat part. You changed to B flat for this whole part of the song, right? Okay, watch out. No, let me try that again. No. Let me try this whole part again, starting at 90. No. At the very end. I kind of messed up part of that, but I think you get the idea anyway. I don't know. This one kind of deceptively looks easy when you look at it, but this one's a little tricky. This one might be the hardest one in the whole 4. I'm not sure. It is kind of highish too. Also, I probably will link, Katie, I'll give you also a paper copy of something, or I'll send this to you on the internet too. There's something I have called the brass range extension, which I usually give to kids in about 7th grade or so, but you may find it helpful here just because it kind of helps you get used to high notes a little bit more, and the all counting does involve some high notes. Okay, and when I'm talking about high notes, I'm talking about notes above the C, really. I mean, you know C really well. Let me turn the right way here. You know that one really well, but I'm talking about the high D, and then the high E even, and high F above that is first valve, and then the high G way above that. My chops are shot for this. I've been playing all afternoon. But That's the idea behind those brass range extensions. I'll send you a link to a paper copy that you can print out if you want to, or just use on your computer. I will also send you a link to a video I did of that for my, my 7th graders when they get used to this. Okay, if you have any questions, see me in class. Good luck.